for me, please.
I know, I'm begging you to cook for me.
I love cooking for you. Hillary, I really want to learn more about your journey of beauty and health.
Okay.
And some of you don't know, but Hillary is the former Miss Nevada.
I was one of those.
Yeah. So if anyone understands the complexity of body image and beauty, I mean, it's every woman and some men. But, you know, I think, Hillary, you've got a journey that I'd love to learn more about.
Totally. Where should we start? How far back do we want to go in this time capsule?
Well, you had mentioned to me that you never even conceived of yourself being in a beauty pageant. Like it was the furthest thing from your imagination.
Totally.
And so prior to that, though, I think you revealed that your mother was a model.
She was. She was a model actually here in LA. My dad and her actually met on a sound stage. She was walking out, he was walking in, he turned around, walked right back out to go and say hi to her. But she used to model for big designers, and in fact, Bob Mackie designed her wedding gown, which was really incredible. But yeah, so I grew up with a model in the family. And then my mom unfortunately got multiple sclerosis when I was very young. And so it was an interesting turn of events for me to see how that impacted her, and also just really recognizing that I wanted to always make sure that I had things in my life to support me regardless of my health status. And like I didn't know and what unknowns would come my way, and so how could I make sure that I didn't have to rely on my looks, or that was something that just felt really important to me. And when I got into college, I decided to get my degree in psychology, and I actually had a big interest in body image and eating disorders, and I had worked a little bit as a model at this time, and I just thought it was so fascinating. I think I'd done a shoot for Italian Vogue magazine, and you're working with these beautiful women and young girls, probably 14 or 15, right, that are being shot in these magazines to tell other women this is the standard of beauty that you need to look like, and they themselves maybe aren't very healthy, and in fact they could be very sick. And I just thought it was so interesting that regardless of where you were in Western society, there was something that you didn't like about yourself, and you had some sort of body dissatisfaction. And because of the way that the media or just even the way we talk to ourselves, we're constantly always battling these inner critics. I just found it super fascinating. So I wanted to get my degree specifically in eating disorders and body image. And then I was the #1 graduate from my university. They gave me a special award for being so academically inclined, I guess.
Wow.
And then I went on to be the proud recipient of 14 rejection letters from every graduate school program that I applied to.
Oh my, I guess it just wasn't in your cards.
One of them even was addressed to somebody else, and they had crossed out their name and handwritten in my name, and they misspelled it. So you want to talk about like reaching a low of I'm not even worth having my own rejection letter, and really having that impact my life. So I did what any like dejected person would do at that point in time, and I took off to Nicaragua and started a travel blog. And
Took up surfing.
yeah, and just decided to start writing about my experiences. And then that quickly snowballed into having these conversations with people all over the world about how life didn't look the way that they thought it was going to. And as I was writing about the same thing, it was just interesting how those struggles allowed us a point of connection, and that even though the details were different, it was the same disappointment in that, hey, we were told if we do X, Y, or Z, we're going to get this, and that was no longer the case anymore. So I thought that I'd really hit the stride. I had readers in like 130 countries, and I had met one of my best friends now, and she was really emphatic, like, you should get into pageantry. You'd be an amazing beauty queen. I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I'm smart. I've got ambitions. Like, I'm not interested. And it was really interesting that she's like, no, I think you'd be really great at this. And I took off to Fiji. And I went and had this beautiful, mystical, month-long experience living with the Firewalker tribe that claims to be the originators of the practice of walking on hot coals. Tony Robbins actually learned firewalking from them and integrated that into his events. And so I just gotten back from that, and I was really struggling to just acclimate to society. And it was 4th of July. So I was invited to a friend's 4th of July party. And it was one of those things where everything that could have gone wrong did. And it was almost like someone was telling me not to go. I couldn't find my keys. I broke a glass. I stepped on the glass. And this is going to sound like really hokey, but I was house sitting. And so I didn't have all my clothes. And I was really mad because I couldn't find the bra that I wanted to wear. So I ended up wearing this super padded push-up Victoria's Secret bra, and it's like really uncomfortable, and I'm just really irritated about it. But it was that or no bra, so I was like, just like so frustrated, and go to the event. And we're all sitting around in lawn chairs, and someone lights off the first firework of the night. Everyone's talking, and then the fuse goes up, but nothing happens. And so everyone gets quiet because we know that that means that there's something wrong with the firework, but no one's going to touch it because it's a live firework. So we're all just waiting to see what happens next. And the firework explodes and goes kaboom, but not in a pretty way. And so the thing's just malfunctioning, on fire. And the fuse, which is on fire, is traveling through the air. And it whips around and takes this very weird angle. And then it comes back and it hits my sunglasses and goes down my shirt. And so I ended up suffering 2nd and 3rd degree burns to my chest and my stomach. And it actually was the blessing that I had that super padded, annoying Victoria's Secret bra on, because it just ate through the whole thing. And if it hadn't been there, I don't actually know what the damage would have been, but it probably would have been much more horrific. So at that point, everything changed in my life because doctors didn't know what my healing time would look like. They didn't know if I would look normal. The chest is the slowest healing part of the body. And all these surf trips, everything that I had planned for the fall, like went out the window. And I was so embarrassed. I was weirdly embarrassed by this thing that I had no control over that had happened. And I felt a lot of shame around it. So I didn't tell any of my followers, any of my readers about it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, now that I look back on it, it was that I just like, I wanted to pretend like it hadn't happened while I was like mentally battling with my idea of femininity and what it meant to be beautiful. And like, would a male ever find me attractive again? And would I find myself attractive again? And how would I grapple with that? And so for 6 months, I'm just holed up in healing and kind of going through this process. And then I was hired actually for a modeling event at New Year's Eve. And it was this like Bond girl event. So you're in some slinky black dress, and I was so excited about it. And like I turned around and I looked at myself in the mirror, and all I could just see were my scars.
Yeah.
And I just immediately started crying. But I was so tired of being in that space. And it's like, okay, what do I need to do to move on from this elaborate pity party that I'm throwing for myself? Because now it's been 6 months and I'm over it. I'm tired of feeling this way, and I want to have a different relationship. So I really started to think about what could I do that would allow me the opportunity to move past this. And in the blog, I talked a lot about putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, finding a way to make them comfortable as a way to find self-growth, particularly related to travel. But I figured if it worked there, it should work somewhere else in my life. So what else could that look like? And the answer that I got back was nothing sounded more terrifying than being on stage in a bikini and having someone judge me based upon my appearance. So I entered a beauty pageant, and it was the most insane roller coaster ride that I've probably ever been on. I did not enjoy any part of leading up to the pageant. I was so anxious. I had dreams about being naked on stage and like tripping over something. And it was just, there was so much anxiety about doing this thing, but I just really forced myself through the process. And I kept telling myself, you'll get a good blog article about it. Just go in, you're just going to get a good story. Just go in for the story. And then I accidentally won.
I don't know if it was an accident.
Well, it's interesting because I think I learned so much about pageantry. And particularly at that time, the way that the categories were broken down was that there's 4. There's interview, on-stage question, swimsuit, and evening gown. And so everyone's going to look great in an evening gown. Swimsuit, like it kind of depends upon the person or what the judge is looking for, right? But half your score, everything is evenly cut across the board. Half your score is talking. And so I think a lot of women don't think about that when they're going into pageantry.
She got the strategy down for the pageant.
It's like half your score is about can you speak, and can you speak well, and how do you handle yourself under pressure? How do you handle yourself in a media interview? And really, like when you think about it, it's a job description. Like, how are you going to show up? It's probably some modeling. Like, how are you going to be at events? Can you handle yourself with composure? Do you have a media interview? And so once I started relating to it in that way, it became more palatable. The other cool thing about pageantry is that it's one of the few places that requires, in order to compete and to be eligible to compete, that you have something called a platform, which is a nonprofit or an organization that you support, that you volunteer with, that you're there to lend your voice to help lift up. And so many beauty queens work with numerous ones over the course of their titles, but everyone's required to have one, and they want you to have a personal connection to it. So I chose the Southern Nevada Firefighters and the Burn Foundation because they do so much amazing work with helping children and families that have been hurt in a fire or lost everything in a fire, children that are burn survivors, letting them go to burn camp so they can just be kids and just enjoy. And it's actually still an organization that I'm very heavily involved with. I'm still their burn ambassador today. And it was one of the greatest joys of my year was getting to work with them and the Burn Institute and Camp Beyond the Scars and all of the organizations. I think I did like 400 appearances.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of appearances.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So you're super comfortable on stage.
Yeah, well, once I got the title, the beautiful thing about that experience, which we don't often get in life, is that there was a time limit on it. And I knew the time, like everything in life has time limits on it. We just don't usually get to know what the time limit is, like how long we're going to be in that relationship, how long we're going to be in that house, how long we're going to live in a city. And so it was one of the few times it's like, you have a year. What are you going to do with that in a year? And I wanted to take off that sash and crown and have them be ratty and dirty and covered in makeup and tanner and just completely disgusting because I had worn it so well and I had taken, I didn't want to have any regrets about it. And that's what I would see happen a lot in pageantry is that girls wouldn't use the time, and so they would feel like they need to get back into it, or there would be regrets or want to do it again. And there's a lot of reasons that women would come back and compete again, but that was the one that I saw most often, is that they didn't feel like they really utilized it to the best of their ability. And so it was really fun to just like, I exhausted myself. I was so ready to turn it over by the end. I'm like, someone else take it. I'm done. I did it. And
Nice.
it was beautiful.
Nice.
We had triple the number of entries the next year.
That's an inspiration. Wow.
Yeah.
Hillary, that's incredible.